Oh
Hey,
God.
Mama. Welcome back to the Mom Walk Collective podcast. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Ari, and we are two moms. And actually, tonight we are three moms navigating through motherhood together.
We are so excited to show you guys really the behind the scenes of what makes the collective, and that is our ambassadors all across the world. So tonight we are joined with Kathleen. Kathleen, we're so excited to have you. Could you share a little bit about who you are, where you live, kind of how many babies you have, whatever you feel like you'd like to share?
Sure thing. So I live in Littleton, Colorado, but I'm actually from Orange County, California. And I am a first-time mom with a little girl named Poppy. She
Cute.
is 4 months old.
Oh my
She's adorable.
goodness. So
And
cute.
I was going to say, you just came back from some international travels with a 4-month-old.
Oh
Pretty
yeah.
impressive. 1 month
Yeah, she
long.
lasted a 16-hour flight
Hey,
twice.
Wow.
giving
Did
us
you do
all hope.
did you do where you can get a bassinet on the flight, so you got one of those rows that you had the bassinet, or did you guys have her in your lap the whole time?
We tried the bassinet, but she didn't like it. I think the way it was installed was a little funny, but you definitely get more legroom with those seats, so highly
Mm,
recommend.
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
I have a friend who is from Australia, and so she did that flight. It's 15 hours with her son when he was 5 months old, and she said that bassinet is game changer. They tried to do as much as they could of him playing in there and being more at eye level. And so I always ask moms when they're doing big international flights, did it work for you? Did it not work for you? So it's such good feedback, and sounds like she was amazing if she made it 16 hours on a plane. That's incredible.
Yes, trooper for sure.
Well, how did you find us? How did you decide you were going to start your own walk? Because I know you made a recent move, so you didn't necessarily have mom friends in the area already.
Yeah, so I found the collective through a friend from Orange County, Chelsea. Shout out to Chelsea. Heyo.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
I saw it posted on her Instagram. She looked like she was having a blast with you guys. And
Aw.
I was just like, man, I want that kind of community. And I took charge and was just like, hey, how do I create that here? How do I create a group of women that are, just bonding with each other over motherhood? And maybe you can get even tips. I feel like it's so hard to do it alone. And being a first time mom and not having the friends around, I just
Mhm.
like, I look to my husband. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Kathleen's husband is also named Ian. So if our husband's names come up at all in this episode, it's her Ian and my Ian.
That's
Yep.
so fun.
Okay, well, I want to just jump right into things because you have a unique story that I feel like is going to impact the moms that have gone through it, or at least feel prepared if they experience it later on, which hopefully nobody else does. But the likelihood of that happening is possible. So, Kathleen, will you jump in and start sharing your story?
Yeah, for sure. And let me know if there's any questions while I'm talking about it, but I'll dive right in. And my topic is on postpartum hemorrhaging, which was terrifying. Uh, Usually it happens when people are still in the hospital, which is why they kind of keep you there for 2 days or so after you deliver. You are able to go home within 24 hours if you choose, but they usually want you to
Mm.
stay around just in case hemorrhaging happens, because it'll
Mm.
usually happen in the beginning. Yeah, but it didn't
So
happen
for
to me then.
you, I was going to say, it doesn't sound like it happened at the beginning. So you gave birth to little Poppy, and then you went home from the hospital and you thought everything was normal until it wasn't?
Hmm. Yeah, we were matching in diapers, postpartum, having a party.
Hey.
And then suddenly 2 weeks later, I woke up about 1 or 2 a.m. and just felt a gush, and the gush didn't feel
Mm.
normal. I rushed to the bathroom, and I noticed it was blood, and it was a lot of blood.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
So
Like,
Yeah.
sorry to jump in the detail, but like, how much is a lot? Because I remember bleeding after being in the diapers. You never thought you'd twin with your baby that fast, but um, like, did it just keep coming? Was it bigger than a golf ball? Like, what was the size of it that made you feel like this is wrong?
Um, I think it was like what made me feel like it was wrong was first I just felt like it was like it sounded like I was peeing a lot, like as if
Mm.
your water broke or something, like it just felt like pee, but it was just continuous blood. And it
Oh.
was, I soaked through, actually, because I was wearing the diapers, I soaked through a whole adult diaper. Um, and then I changed to a maxi pad, and that soaked through within minutes as well.
Oh,
Wow.
Like
yeah.
the super huge maxis that are like bigger than your entire face. Those.
So I'm so
Oh,
curious.
oh
I want
yeah.
to almost backtrack just a little bit. Because I think maybe will give moms like even an insight. So when you were still in the hospital and you were in they move you over to the delivery side to the postpartum side, when they were pressing on your stomach and everything, because I know that was a huge part. Like every few hours they
Oh,
would press
yeah.
on your stomach to make sure things were going well. Were you noticing anything then, or were they just giving you like, nope, looks good, everything's good to go? Were
Mhm.
you feeling any pain or anything then, or they would just give you all the thumbs up?
They kept giving me thumbs up, which is surprising. I thought I was healing really well. Everything was coming out as normal. I Nobody talks about that. Like that they're going to come and press on your stomach, and it's going to be like the most uncomfortable pressing of your stomach of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, I never
Yeah.
thought that right after birth that somebody would be like, "I need a press on your stomach and you have to be okay with this."
Literally. And it's going to
Okay.
feel really weird because you're going to feel that wound size effect that just came out of you. You're going to feel the consequence of that
Mhm.
open wound inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
it's just so crazy. So now let's fast forward back to kind of where we just left off. So you're at home. What are the emotions that are going through at this moment? Do you feel calm, cool, and collected of kind of like, all right, I know something's off. I'm going to just call, my midwife. Is there a little sense of urgency? Kind of walk us through what that feeling was like when you started to kind of realize, this isn't normal.
Yeah, at first I was trying to remain calm as possible. But I guess initially I did panic. I woke my husband up immediately. I was like, Ian, get in here. I'm bleeding a lot. Uh, I was like, I don't know what's going on, because I felt like my bleeding was slowing down. I,
Mm.
was trickling off from like whatever amount of blood you're supposed to have that's normal. And then to be like, I was like almost a light period. And I was like, okay, so I'm healing. Great. And then suddenly, whoosh, like let the
Wow.
floodgates of blood open. And so,
Bloodbath.
yeah, it was, it was crazy. And yeah, so I called him in and I was like, okay, do I panic? And maybe not. I'm going to let him know what's going on. And I said, hey, can you call the doctor? Let's ask the doctor. Let's ask, I delivered Poppy with a midwife because I did completely unmedicated vaginal birth. And
Wow.
that was like my goal from the beginning.
You are a superhuman.
And my labor was 29 hours. Woo woo. It was a
Woo!
long time.
Girl, I feel you there. I was 25, but I only made it half the time before I ended up then getting meds to help. So I honor you because that is a true labor of love right there.
Thanks. It was my goal from the beginning, so I had to like stick with it. Even one time during my labor, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but I was pushing and I yelled like, "Just cut me open, get the baby out." And everyone ignored me. Like my midwife just looked at me, my doula just stared at me, so did Ian. They were like, "Yeah, but we already know what you want, so we're not
Yeah.
honoring
Wow. Good
That's
for them. You had
amazing.
a great support team.
that." Yeah. Oh,
Oh
it was
my
insane.
gosh.
Yeah.
I can only
But yeah, so
imagine
I
the
had,
conviction that would come out of your mouth at that point with that much pain. I had a C-section, so I knew what I was going into. I couldn't feel very much. And so to like feel that much excruciating pain, like I'd be like, get the sorry, I would cuss, but I don't know where this is. Get the knife. Let's do this.
yeah, I think it was like totally because I was so tired. I think at that
Mm.
point I was like, I haven't slept in a whole day. My doula told me to sleep. She was like, take a nap, make yourself dinner, relax. I was like, how am I supposed to relax? I'm in labor. Like, I'm so stoked that I'm gonna meet my baby. I've waited 9 months for
Oh,
this.
oh, that
So
is
Yeah.
fun.
sweet.
So what did your
Yes,
midwife
I
have
was
to
like,
say?
sorry.
Oh, no, sorry to
So my
interrupt, but yeah, I'm curious what she had to say.
I actually, when I called, because the midwife, it was just like answering service for my physician's office. My physician's office has doctors, nurse practitioners, and midwives. And
Oh,
I ended up getting the answering service. So, like, they'll call you back within 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is going to be the longest 5 minutes of my life. So I hang up,
yeah.
wait. Um, and I actually missed 2 calls because my phone was on Do Not Disturb. Thank you, iPhone. So I call them back and I get a call, or I speak to the nurse practitioner, and I mentioned something about my stitches because I was like, I feel my stitches have like loosened because I did tear. I had a second-degree tear, so they had to stitch me up, and I feel my stitches have loosened. Could it be something with that? And because I mentioned my stitches, she was like, oh, okay. And she ran with that and was like, if you could put pressure
Mm.
on it and kind of stop the bleeding, then you're fine. And I was like, stop the bleeding. There's a lot of blood. I don't know how to stop this, and nor do I know where it's coming from.
I'm
Oh,
so shocked that I don't know, it's just crazy how, and I can only imagine like they're just doing what they're trying to help prevent from giving you another traumatic experience. So in their mind,
Mm-hmm.
if I can help them, here's some tips and advice, we'll get you fixed. But I can't imagine them being like, that this is not making sense. Like, I need some serious help here. So did they recommend for you to come in, or what was kind of the leading factor of like, all right, it's time to go to the hospital?
I kind of actually made the call myself because I felt like I think it's harder for the nurse practitioner to make a judgment over the phone, right? If they're in person and they would be able to say like, "Ooh, this is a lot of blood," or you need to go to the hospital immediately. But because it was just me describing over the phone, maybe I like didn't describe it properly. Maybe I blacked out. I don't know. But I hung up the phone with her and I was like, I don't think I can stop this bleeding. And it's continuing to
mm,
gush. So, and it just like literally it felt like the first day of your period when it's like
Mm.
super heavy and it just like you stood up after sitting for a little bit and you're like, ooh, hello.
yeah. Yeah. I just got my first period back after 7 months of not
Oh
having it.
no.
And it literally felt like that gushing feeling, not to the extreme
Hmm.
that yours sounds like. But I was like, this is not normal. And this is not normal. But then I had to realize it was my first period back. So a little
Yeah.
heavier than normal, but
Right.
not
Body
pouring
changes.
gushing. Yes.
But yeah, so then I kind of made that judgment. I said, hey, thankfully my dad was here,
Mm.
because he was visiting to help like take care of the baby postpartum for the first couple weeks. And I said, hey, I think you need to wake up my dad because we need to go to the hospital and I don't want to take the baby to the ER. She's 2 weeks old and that's a lot of
Yeah.
germs.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we rushed over there.
What time was this, like in the middle of the night you rushed to the ER?
Yeah, it was like about 2 a.m. at that point. 2, yeah, 2,
Okay.
2:30.
And how far is the drive to the hospital from your house?
Thankfully, only 10 minutes. And we went to
Okay.
the one that I delivered at because I wanted,
Okay.
like, all my information's already there. Let's just go
Mhm.
there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's convenient at least. So then you get to the ER and do they immediately know that something's wrong and you get into a room, or then are you like waiting in the waiting room gushing blood?
Yeah, I actually had to wait, which was crazy. And
What?
Wow.
and and the crazy um like, I mean, not crazy thing, but like Ian had put a beach towel under the seat so I don't like stay in our car.
Yeah.
But that was soaked through. My belt buckle on the in the car had blood soaked on it. And so we walked in the ER and I walked with that beach towel between my legs because I was like, or else it will
Oh,
be all over your floor. Yeah, it was
whoa.
terrifying.
Okay,
Wow.
so how were you feeling in that moment? Because I'm feeling emotions, imagining going into the ER with a towel between my legs, bleeding, and the fact that they made you wait. I'm like, at least put me in a private room.
Right. Yeah. I was desperate. I just wanted help, like help make this stop. I know that hemorrhaging might be normal, but I've never bled this much. Like
Mhm.
how do you help me? Oh, and I put on my Thinx panties, the period panties,
Yep.
because I was
Uh-huh.
like, oh, this should be able to absorb a lot. Didn't help.
Not
Sorry,
if you
Thinx,
soaked
but
through your diaper. Like
yeah.
that's already saying something.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, did they eventually, when you got finally getting help, how did they know to start? Like, were they just going in thinking they were looking at your stitches, or you sat down, you have a new nurse? You probably, they always vet you out with nurses before they send the doctors in. So, the nurse gave a look at you. Were you feeling lightheaded? I mean, losing that much
Hmm.
blood, were you starting to, feel lightheaded and just a little out of it, or were you still like pretty sharp? Or um, explain, like, now you're in the room, what happened?
So because nobody had really come in because it's the ER, I feel like nobody's like in a rush because there's so much going on all the time. And so nobody had come in yet, none of the nurses, but my husband was like pacing and he's panicking, right? He's like, you're losing a lot of blood. I'm scared. And I used to work in the ER once upon a time as a scribe. So I was like, it takes time.
Mm.
They triage you. Uh, Somebody will come. And so I tried to like calm his nerves. And finally, two nurses do come in. I think one was training. They peek under the sheet and was like, oh crap, and ran to get like the doctor. The doctor came in like within like the next couple minutes.
Wow.
And I was
Oh.
definitely lightheaded. I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna pass out. And I was so freaked out. I was so nervous. I didn't want to pass out. I was like, I've never passed out before. This is all new. Panic, panic, panic.
Oh, yeah.
But you're
So,
like holding it together. Like even telling the story, I could just tell your composure in the moment is like, I was a scribe once, they'll be here soon. And then the nurses come in, they're like, oh my God. Like, okay, time to get the doctor. Oh, so the panic was
Yeah.
all
I went from this
internal.
like, yeah, oh yeah, I was panicking internally. I was like, I don't want to pass out. I'm so scared to pass out. I was in this tiny room, like in the corner, and then after the nurses saw me, they like put up the sides of the hospital bed and they like wheel me into the trauma bay, like giant room.
wow.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's jump into this part. Like what then happens? Because when we talked previously, you said you almost lost your life to this hemorrhaging issue. And up
Mm-hmm.
until this point, it seems like we're like trending in a bad direction, but not towards life loss direction. So,
Yeah.
what
Yeah. So
happened?
as they're wheeling me over, I kept telling them I'm gonna pass out. And they're like, it's okay, you're like laying down. And I was like, no, I don't want to pass out because what I felt inside was like, if I pass out, I'm gonna die. Like that's truly how I felt.
Oh,
And I was like, is this God telling me that? What's happening inside me? And so I was like, I cannot pass out. But once they got me in there, they cut my shorts off. So they the doctor asked me, can I cut your things can I cut your shorts off? And I was like, I will buy new ones. I don't care. Like, go do whatever you need to do. And so they cut my shorts off. And then there's like at least like four to six nurses in the room at this point with the doctor, because one is putting IVs on me, one is giving me like the oxygen tube, like taking it off the wall and like, hey, I'm gonna remove your mask so you can have oxygen. And and like one was charting. I can't remember what other ones were doing, but it like just felt like a madhouse in there. And I just like I actually told them I can't hear you anymore and I can't
Wow.
see you. Like everything started going
wow.
shutting down. because it started getting really muffly. And so I was just like trying to vocalize what was happening to me so that they can know that, because
Wow.
I couldn't tell you what they were doing anymore.
That comes
And
from your scribe
um,
background, knowing
yeah,
that it's best for you to share that.
yeah, I really wanted them to like, hey, if this is happening, try to make those connections. And I couldn't even imagine what Ian was going through in the room, but he had to sit there and watch, like just be on the side and watch them work on me. And no one was telling him anything. But
Mm.
as I was passing out, he was like, your heart rate went down to 70 over 40, or your blood pressure. Sorry, your blood pressure went down to 70 over 40, which is basically the blood pressure of a baby. And so
Wow.
it's super low.
Oh my God. So
And
did you just
that's when I was
go
passing out.
like directly into surgery, or was this the surgery room that you were now wheeled into?
I
What?
actually didn't get surgery that night,
Oh.
surprisingly.
So did
Hmm.
you ever get surgery to help with this, or oh my
Yeah, I ended up
goodness.
having to get a DNC, but I got it
Okay.
like a week later.
Oh wow. So what did they do that night, and did you like yeah, I mean, did you go from like having that experience and then them solving it, going home, and then having something happen again? Or did they like just schedule you a DNC after they put like a band-aid on it, essentially, for lack of better terms?
So, yeah, yeah. The crazy thing was my OB's office was not available. They weren't answering. The answering service or whoever was on call was not coming, and so they just called whatever OB was on call from another practice that came to see me, and she did an ultrasound, and said, "Hey, I don't see any more clots." But this is after like I came back, so while I was like blacking out, passed out, they had me on oxygen. They put two fluid IVs on my arms, and they also were doing a blood transfusion. So they had to
Wow.
call over the loudspeaker like massive blood transfusion protocol activated in trauma room or ER room, blah blah blah. OR on
Wow.
standby, and yeah,
And you were
they
hearing
were
all
just
of
like,
this?
I think it was like right as I was passing out. Yeah, so I was hearing all this and I was like, is this for me? Like, am I in this room? Because I don't know what room I was in at that point.
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
really scary that I was hearing all of this and not really knowing what was going to happen. But they gave me an anti, anti-hemorrhaging or like a clotting medication, basically, through one of my IVs, and that helped a lot to like stop the bleeding. I'm pretty sure, and oh, and the crazy thing is the ER doctor said uh, to the OB when they came downstairs, I don't know what to do. And I heard it and I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm for sure gonna die.
Oh.
Because she just stared at the OB. She said I put in the speculum, or the little duck bill, and was like, she just keeps bleeding. I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay.
Oh
Wow.
my God. I mean, was your life flashing in front of your eyes at that point?
100%. Yeah.
Like, what were the emotions? Like, you just had a 2-week-old baby.
Yeah. I think that it was like the constant, I don't want to pass out because I think I'll die. That was what I kept thinking. And then finally, when everything quieted down, like the blood transfusion was still going in my arm, but I came back to it. I was,
Mm.
fully aware again and didn't feel like I was going to pass out. And that was after oxygen, IV, fluids, and the medication. And I started sobbing, like weeping. And this whole time in postpartum, I hadn't cried. And so that was
Mm.
like a really big shock to me too. It was just like automatic weeping, because I imagined what would happen if I died? Like what I wouldn't have been
Mm.
able to see my daughter ever again. She would never know who I was. Um, and then my husband would be left alone to take care of a 2-week old.
Wow. Oh, this is as scary and as like crazy as this sounds. I bet you that there's been so many other moms in this situation, and this is why like we so wanted to have you on, because these are fears, and I'm really curious, one, just to end here, how the OB kind of solved the problem at the moment, but then I want to know, what did that do to your postpartum journey? So would love to hear you close the night, and then hear what it really affected you then on your postpartum journey, because it sounds as though before, it sounds like you didn't have any baby blues or anything like that. What was that like then afterwards, and after experiencing this whole night of just trauma?
Yeah. I would say like postpartum anxiety has been really high after that. I've been afraid of like even taking my baby or handing off the baby over like hardwood floor or cement and things like that. Like I'm so much more cautious and fearful.
Mm,
But thank goodness for therapy, because I've been working through that, and like that has been a godsend for sure, to just like bring it down a notch and kind of push those intrusive thoughts out, or at least like let
yeah.
them like kind of float away, like, oh yeah, that's there, but it's not going to put this high fear and high anxiety
Yeah.
in me.
Yeah. So when the OB came, did she do anything more? And then when was kind of the you're cleared to go home? We'll see you in a week. When did that moment all come?
So the OB didn't actually have to do anything. She was like, I think your bleeding is slowing down and stopping, and I don't see any more clots from just like on top of my abdomen ultrasound. And I was like, okay, sounds great. Thank you for, helping. And they kept me in the hospital for the afternoon. So since I was there at like 2 a.m., they kept me until probably like 2 to 3 p.m. And I went back to the like mom and baby floor, and since they're the ones that are more experienced in hemorrhaging, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they brought me back up there and let me hang out there, and then they discharged me and said, hey, it doesn't seem like you're bleeding anymore, call your doctor's office, basically. And then so I called my OB, and they scheduled me for a DNC.
Wow. Were
Wow.
you breastfeeding at this point? Like, had your daughter taken formula before, or what was that? Because that's going through my head of,
Ooh, yeah.
oh my gosh, like my son exclusively breastfeeds, so I don't even know. I mean, he would have to figure out, but what was that process like?
Yeah. So she had formula in the hospital the first or second day that we had her, because my milk hadn't come in, and she was just crying and crying. And I was like, maybe she's hungry. But so she's had a taste of formula, but I only give her breast milk now. And thankfully I'd pumped. My supply had come in after that, and after the first couple days in the hospital. And so I was able to pump, and I had a supply that my dad was able to feed her, but he was never alone with a 2 week old since, I'm the baby in the family. So 30 years ago. Oh,
Wow. Praise God for grandpa. We are so thankful for grandparents around here.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Seriously, it has made such a difference. Well, we'd love to just kind of end this off of, if there's any encouraging words that you can give to a mom who maybe has gone through something like this, that is still having a hard time recovering, or any words of wisdom to a mom who we hope doesn't get put in this situation, but if so, what could you encourage and empower them? Whatever you feel would be best.
Yeah. I would say it was like a tough time, but you like look for your community. And I am so honored to have like moms surround me now and make me feel not so alone, even though people may have not been through the hemorrhaging experience. There's other things that just having people around you support you and love you is so just priceless. And so I think just like looking for a community that is the Mom Walk community, um,
Shout
where,
out.
yeah, shout out, uh, just women that will lift you up as a mom, and people that just surround you and love you. And I think that has been the most healing for me, whether they had been through what I went through or not.
How
Wow.
beautiful. That is an excellent segue for you to share your Instagram and how people can find you and find your walk, because I know your walks are starting this month. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're going to help you find your community and help the moms in your area find you.
Yeah. So if you're in Littleton, Colorado, look me up at the Mom Walk Collective Littleton. And I'm so excited to see you at any of the coffee shops or just the walks around.
I love
Awesome.
it. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you are looking for a community, maybe someone sent you this podcast, you stumbled across it, or you are new to the collective, or have been with us from the beginning, we just want to say, welcome, Mama. We are here. We are with you. If you're looking for a walk, go to themomwalkcollective.com, go to our walk finder, type in your zip code, and find a walk closest to you. If there isn't a walk near you and you would like to be a host of your local city, please fill out our ambassador form. We release podcasts every Monday, Thursday. We also have a TikTok and our Instagram. It's the Mom Walk Co. And we just want to say we are here. We are, whether you're virtual best friend or we are able to see you in person. We love you, Mama, and we're here for you.
We love you, Mama. Take care.